In this project, we are going to create this kind of a retro-looking TV set icon. And along the way, you're going to learn how to use the basic shapes tools here in Designer, but also how to transform some of the shapes to make this shape look like this. And at first glance, it might look like it's a bit complicated, but once you know how to use the simplest shapes, you will learn that it's really easy to do. So let's get started. And I am going to start with creating a new file. So I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm going to search for the Web preset. And in here, I'm just going to go ahead and choose the XGA, this 4x3 preset, because it's just a good balance between size and the comfort of working. It's not too big, not too small. The proportions are all right, and I don't need to create the artboard. I'm just gonna hit create. So let me just first quickly create some swatches for our design. So I'm just going to create a few rectangles. So let me just create some, and I'm just going to grab one, press the I key on my keyboard to initialize the color picker tool, and I'm just going to go ahead and toggle between the move tool by pressing the V and then the I tool to initialize the color picker. And let me just quickly create all of these swatches. Right, so I got all my swatches. I'm just going to grab all these rectangles, copy them and paste them somewhere here, and we can make them just a bit smaller, and let's put them somewhere here. So the first thing to do would be to grab the rounded rectangle tool and just create a rounded rectangle. And at this point, the roundness is when you're creating this shape is not that important, because once you create this shape, you can always change the roundness of the corners, either by playing around with the slider in the context toolbar, or simply by dragging on this red dot right here. So let me just maybe make this guy just a bit more rounded to something like this. So let's fill this guy with the green color. So again, I'm going to press the I key on my keyboard to initialize the color picker tool, and I'm just going to, of course, I got to make sure that I have the fill active. I'm just going to click on this green icon, and then I'm just going to press the X key to initialize the to make sure that the stroke is active, and then I'm just going to press the I key on my keyboard and click on this guy to add this color to my shape. And of course, let's go ahead to the stroke panel and let's increase the stroke ever so slightly to something like maybe 16 points. I guess this should be all right. So our next step would be to create the screen and the right part of our TV. So for that, I'm just going to be using what I already have. So I'm just going to select this rectangle and press Ctrl J on my keyboard. If you're on a Mac, you'd press Command J to clone this rectangle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to make it a bit smaller. So I'm going to press the Ctrl key on my keyboard and hold it, and just going to make this guy a bit smaller to, I guess, somewhere here. And I'm holding down the Control key to initialize, to start the transformation from the center spot. Now what I'm going to do is maybe I'm just going to select both of these rectangles. And in the context toolbar, when the rounded rectangle tool is selected, just going to maybe play around with the roundness value to something like so, maybe around 10%. And as you can see, since these rectangles are still as live shapes, we can manipulate the roundness of the roundness value of our corners here in the context toolbar. So with the smaller shape selected, I am going to fill it with the gray color. So I'm going to make sure that the fill is selected by pressing the X key right now on my keyboard, and then I'm just going to press the I key to initialize the color picker tool and just pick up this gray color. So to create the screen, I'm just going to press Ctrl J on my keyboard again to clone this guy, and I'm just going to bring this guy to the right side, maybe to somewhere here. And I'm going to fill this guy with the blue color. But what I would like to achieve here is I would like to have well, the top left and the bottom left corner is rounded, but the top right and the bottom right corners, I want them to be straight. So in the context toolbar, I'm going to uncheck the single radius option. And right now I can change each and every corner of this shape independently. So I'm going to choose the bottom right, and I'm going to bring it all the way down to 0, and top right all the way down to 0, 0 as well. So since we are playing around with the screen, let's create the reflection here at the bottom. So for that, I'm just going to grab the rectangle tool and create a simple rectangle that is going to look more or less like this. And I don't want to have the stroke, so I'm just going to press the X key to make the stroke active, and then the slash key to get rid of the stroke. And again, X to initialize the fill. And then I'm just going to grab this color, and let me just zoom in real close. I'm just going to put this guy somewhere here, and I'm gonna make it just a bit smaller to somewhere here. So what I want to do is I want to share this guy. I want to make it lean a bit to the right. So to do that, I'm gonna grab the transform panel, and I'm just going to play around with this share value, and I'm gonna make it something like maybe minus 30%. I guess this should be all right. And I'm just going to put this guy somewhere here. And of course, this reflection needs to go all the way to the edge of this screen. Let me just dock it back somewhere here. So what I want to do is I want to be able to control the nodes, the anchor points of this shape. But since it's still a live shape, because even a rectangle is still a live shape, we need to convert it to curves. So I'm gonna select, of course, this object first, and then I'm gonna hit convert to curves here in the context toolbar. And now this shape is it's a simple path, which we can see here in the layers panel. It's just a simple curve. So now we can just grab the node tool from our toolbox, and we can just grab this guy, hold down the shift key, and bring this guy up to somewhere here. Let me just zoom back. I'm gonna press Ctrl 0 on my keyboard, and there we go. We got our reflection created. So now let's move on to creating the knobs and the speaker on the right. So we can just grab the ellipse tool. Let me just maybe zoom in real close, and I'm going to create an ellipse that is going to look more or less like this. This should be fine. And of course, let's fill it with the proper color, so this yellow color. And let's make the stroke this dark gray. And of course, let's bring the stroke value down to something like maybe 8 points. 8 points should be all right. Maybe we can make this ellipse a bit smaller to something like this. And let's grab the rectangle tool, create a rectangle that is going to look more or less like this. Let's fill it with our color, the stroke color. So let's just press Shift X on your keyboard to exchange the colors. And let's get rid of the stroke by pressing the slash key on our keyboard. And let's maybe make it just a bit bigger. This should be all right, maybe just a bit bigger. And I'm gonna grab both of these shapes, and I'm gonna press Ctrl J. So I'm shift clicking on them to select all of them, and then pressing Ctrl G on my keyboard to group both of these elements. Now I can just maybe rotate this guy just a bit, and then holding down the Control key and the Shift key on my keyboard, going to clone this guy down and maybe just turn the knob to somewhere here. And maybe let's move them just a bit up so we got more room for our speaker here at the bottom. So to create the speakers, all we need is just to create some simple ellipses. I'm just going to grab the ellipse tool and create an ellipse that is going to look more or less like this. Let me just take a look. This should be all right. So now we can just grab this ellipse, press and hold down the Control and the Shift keys together to move, to clone this guy to the side, and then just press Ctrl J once, twice. This should be all right. to repeat the transformation, and in our case it was cloning and moving. So when we press Ctrl J, we are going to be moving and cloning the shape at the same time. So now we can just do the same to the bottom. So I'm holding down the Ctrl and the Shift keys together to move this guy to somewhere here, and then just press Ctrl J just a few times to create the speaker looking more or less like this. So now I'm just going to maybe select all the ellipses. So I'm just going to grab them from the layers panel. There we go, and maybe move them a bit to the bottom, to somewhere here. I guess we could group them. And then I'm just going to maybe move these guys a bit to the bottom as well to make it look like this. So now let me just maybe move this guy a bit to the bottom because we need some room here to create our antenna. So I'm going to grab the ellipse tool, create an ellipse that is going to look more or less like this. I want this guy to have this fill, so I'm just going to press Shift X right now because this dark fill, well, I want to change it into a stroke, so Shift X, then press X to make this the fill active, then I on my keyboard. I know I'm using a lot of keyboard and a lot of keyboard shortcuts, but trust me, once you learn them, your work in Designer is going to be much quicker and more professional as well. And then I'm just going to click on this this orange-yellow color, I guess. And let me just move this guy to somewhere here. And of course, this ellipse needs to be put all the way to the back. So here from the toolbar, I'm going to choose the Move to Back option to actually move this ellipse all the way to the back. So now I'm just going to borrow this ellipse. I'm going to move it holding down the Control key to clone it, make it smaller by pressing Control and Shift keys at the same time. And maybe let's just decrease the stroke value just a little bit to something like 5 points maybe. There we go. And then I guess we could grab the pen tool, get rid of the fill, just leave the stroke. And I'm just going to click somewhere here and then somewhere here to create this shape. Let me just move this ellipse to somewhere here. There we go. And of course we could maybe grab this this path and increase the stroke value just ever so slightly to something like 7. And maybe let's grab both of these elements and move them a bit to the bottom, to somewhere here. And again, we could just from the toolbar use the Move to Back option to send both of these elements to the back, actually. Then I'm going to select both of these, this antenna, both of these elements. And I'm just going to press Ctrl J on my keyboard to duplicate it, and then press Flip Horizontal here in the toolbar. And I'm going to move this guy maybe somewhere here. There we go. And if you want, you could move these antennas maybe a bit to the side, maybe to somewhere here. That's just going to be totally up to you. That's going to be your design choice. I think I'm going to leave it like this. And I guess the last thing to do here would be to create our feet, the stand for our TV set. So for that, I'm again going to be using the rectangle tool that is going to be filled with this dark gray color. And I'm going to create a stand looking more or less like this. Let me just zoom in a bit. And again, from the transform panel, let me just select it. I'm going to share this guy maybe by around, I don't know, maybe like -16. I guess this should be all right. And again, I'm going to grab this element, press Ctrl J to clone it, and then flip horizontal. Unfortunately, in Designer, we cannot just, grab an element and then maybe like press and hold on the Alt key and then click the flip horizontal option to reflect and clone it at the same time. Maybe this will change one day, but for now, yeah, it doesn't work. So there we go. We got our TV created. So I hope that you enjoyed this design. I hope that you learned that using just the simplest tools, you can create more intricate shapes. And of course, once you know how to transform them, you basically can create any shape you want. So if you like this video, click the like button, subscribe, all of those things. But most of all, I really hope you enjoyed it and you learned a lot.